Yeah. So that, I mean, the interesting thing there is that you're helping them, but by doing so, you're also helping yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I have the same thing. I have a bunch of recruiters that call me, every few months, because a few months ago I mentioned like, no, I have a project currently, but it's about to finish in, whatever, in March. And then around like March is coming up, they're calling me. They're like, hey, Nick, how's it going? You spoke to me or my colleague, 6 months ago. You mentioned your project will finish in the spring. How is it going? And then recently I could tell them like, well, we are kind of live now. This is what I always wanted to say. We are live.
And you're officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment. How about recruiters? Tyler, do you ever speak to them, or are you, because I know you have a job, like, do they approach you, and what happens if they do?
It is the end of the year, so it is hire and fire time. So recruiters are reaching out. So it's like for context, like end of the year, that's when budgets are made. And so that's when people see how much money they have left or how much they have left to spend. So that's when recruiters start to come out and do some poaching. So they reach out. I don't really respond. I'm not looking to change today. But yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with recruiters, I think.
Tell me more.
I think they're helpful when you need their help. I guess this famous line, I guess it depends. You have to be, I feel like there's a skill to being a good recruiter. And then part of that job is having a bit of technical awareness of the job that you're trying to fill. So I've seen many times where a recruiter has no idea about what development or design, and they're just basically listing off a list of requirements from the job posting. Yeah. It's like, do you know this? Do you know this? But they have no idea what these words are. It basically could be a different language. So I feel that there's like a disconnect sometimes, because I think the best recruiters feel like partners, like they're trying to help you, and it feels like they're working on your best interest, when in reality, they're working on the behalf of like the company that's looking for the best candidate.
Yeah. But it makes me think of something that happened to me 1 or 2 weeks ago, is getting a call from a recruiter, and you tell me about his design knowledge. He started listing all the requirements to me, and he told me, well, are you proficient with design tools like Figma, Sketch, and Adobe XD?
All of them?
All of them, including the one that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, so that's, it's really a thing. Like, you can really feel when they do not really know what they're talking about. The other way around is also true. I have also spoken to recruiters who were like within their recruiting company, the large firm of recruiters, where they were just a design recruiter. Whenever any of the other recruiters found someone or were approached by a designer, they would also always redirect that person to the dedicated design recruiter. And that person, although not being a designer or having a design background, by just being exposed to designers every day, every working day, you did notice that they knew more about what they were talking about design. So, and that felt like, like playing a home game instead of an away game. So that really helps. And for this episode, I'm just thinking about designers versus recruiters. Well, actually, we should be best friends, because we have the same goal in mind. Putting someone on a great job that sure, the recruiter will make some money, but then the designer will be happy and have a new job. So one of the things for a recruiter, bit of advice, perhaps if I may give it, is just to continue what you're saying, is that they should at least learn a little bit about design. Not to design themselves, but to know what the terms are: UX, products, UI, research, and all the good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's super important, because when you're on a call and you can tell they have to your point, they're just listing a bunch of requirements, it just feels like, okay, I'm less invested. on my part. But if you're both coming to the same table with like the same like an understanding, like you understand what you're doing, I understand that you're a great candidate, that always works best.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
I'm even wondering, I've also seen design specific, to your point, like design specific recruiters that used to be designers. That must be
Yeah.
like the major unlock. Like I used to be a designer, now I'm hiring the best designers. That like
Yeah.
those recruiters, I've ran to like I think one or two of them. It's very interesting because they're like very knowledgeable, and it's not Figma, XD, or any of the tools that no longer exist.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what companies still use XD or Sketch even. Probably some do, but I feel like the tool du jour is still Figma, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. Well, I think Sketch is doing very interesting stuff. I don't think you can even use XD anymore. I'm not sure. But indeed, it's not the topic of, not something to really take a deep dive on today. You know what? Just to turn the table around for a moment, one thing I do notice is that some designers mention at least that nobody's replying to me anymore. I get generic responses back that I'm not going to be the one they hire. And, that sucks, of course. But at the same time, I've offered free help for designers, dozens of times this year. And about 75% of them do not reply to me, which I think is very strange. Like you have a senior designer offering free help just to brainstorm a bit, look at a portfolio or a resume or some of the rejection letters that you've had, while complaining about not getting an answer, and then they do not reply to me. I just think
that's a bit of an insight.
Strange. Yeah, I mean that's strange, isn't it? It goes both ways. Reply at least. Show you.
Yeah, I mean,
show
if
that
you're
you're a
screaming
social
into
person.
the void.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're screaming into the void, like the natural response is like if someone reaches out, like you're clamoring for their help because that's what you're asking for.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, really strange. Yeah. So maybe that's one to put on the side of the designer. Like improve the world. Start with yourself. And just reply to someone, even if it's just, hey, thanks, but no thanks, I'm not interested. Something else I wanted to mention is recruiter screening. Recruiters screen you as a designer, but I think as a designer, you also screen a recruiter. I'm not sure how it is for your side of the world, but over here, like some large companies, they have a pool of recruiters where they choose from. Preferred suppliers is what they call them. Yeah. So when I talk to a recruiter, I always ask like, hey, but are you a preferred supplier for that client? And if it's yes,
interesting.
Yeah. If it's yes, I know I stand a chance. If it's no, then it's also a no from me because I already know that I can spend all my time in trying to get through the door, but they will always pick someone from the preferred suppliers. So it's
okay. Can you go deeper on that? Like, is that like so someone's looking to fill a position, and they're basically reaching out to their different suppliers saying, hey, find me someone. If one supplier gets one or the other gets one, I don't really care, but I have this one dedicated or like the shining star of my suppliers that kind of recruit the best. I'll trust them over the others. Is that how that kind of works?
Yes, that's how it works, and this is for really large companies and like government agencies. They just have, let's say, 3 preferred suppliers where they will go to first. Okay, do you have a senior UX designer with experience in design systems? Something specific. And then they're like, yeah, let me find you 1 or 2 candidates. And then they have 6 to choose from. But they also, they have a portal where they put all their openings. But the portal is freely accessible. So then you also have like any other random recruiter can just look at that portal and see like they're looking for a senior UX designer with design system knowledge. And then those people will start contacting people like, hey, one of our trusted clients is looking at us to help them find this designer. I'm looking at your profile and maybe you're the one. Can we have a call? But then it
Oh,
turns
this
out
is
that
spicy.
they're just an outside person, not a preferred supplier. So they're all the way at the end of the line, and the odds of you getting a position at the company with their help is very close to zero. Like only if the preferred suppliers, all of them say, no, we do not have anyone, only then they will open the job opening to the full market. And then it's you versus the rest of the world.
This sounds like, this is almost like TV drama. Like if there was a show about the recruiters in the tech world, I'd watch it. It's very similar to like those realtor shows where they have you different realtors battling for who's going to land the client.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Yeah. So that's something I would always check I always do check. It's not only if, but I really do. I always want to know the connection of the recruiter to the company that they claim they are connected to. And if you get a shady answer, you know it's probably not a good use of your time.
That's a good tip. I had zero idea about that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I asked, because I do not know if that's a worldwide thing or maybe in some countries, but over here it is for large companies at least, and then because small companies usually don't have recruiters.
Yeah. I feel like there's at least for me, there's an attitude shift I have towards recruiters, be it obnoxious or not. Like if I have a job, I'm always like, oh, you want to speak to me, do you? What do you have for me? Ha ha ha. But if I'm in desperate need, the conversation is like, oh, yes, please. I am the best for this position. I have a bit of split personalities depending. I mean, that's probably for everyone. If you need it, then you're probably more desperate to kind of jump on that conversation than the other way around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just negotiation stuff. Like, you want to have the thing you cannot have. And if someone else doesn't really need you, like it makes them even more interesting. What I also do, like if it's an interesting recruiter, I would still listen to them because it's always good to network. Even if you do not really have the time, it's good to be, almost on their speed dial, for later. And also it's good to just hear about, current rates in the market, just to keep tabs on, how you relate to those numbers. Maybe because, you say end of the year is hire and fire time, but it's also year-end review and salary increase time. So it's good to know that the market offers 20% more than what you're getting.
Yes. Good. Can I tell you something that frustrates me the most about like the recruiter flow?
Of course.
They reach out and then the message is oftentimes it's well crafted. It's like, ooh, Tyler, I think that you'd be the perfect person. I came across your profile. It looks so much different than the rest. I think you'd be the perfect candidate for X company.
Yeah.
Please book a call with me. I'd love to kind of tell you a bit more. And then that kind of pumps up your ego a bit. It's like, oh, interesting. I'd be perfect for it. Really? This sounds so interesting. You get onto the call and then it becomes status quo. It's like, oh, okay. Then you become interviewed. It's less of like, it sounds like from the outreach, like, oh, I already know about you. I've looked at your CV, your resume, your LinkedIn profile. I know you'd be a perfect fit. Let me get you in contact with them right away. But then the first call is an interview of like who you are. Like, oh, do you have a resume? Do you think you can send it to us? It feels there's like there's a disconnect between the outreach versus what that first conversation is. It's like you'd be perfect. I'm gaslit. My ego's a bit stroked, and then I'm on the call, and then it's part 1 of 17 of the interview process. Hey, do you have a background in this? Are you proficient in Adobe XD? Have you worked how many years, etc.? And then it's always a letdown. I was like, okay, now we're in the interview process, and it feels less like I'm special, but more of like I'm one of 300 candidates that you're speaking to.
Yeah. I mean, that's very frustrating for sure. I'm impressed that you even took the call.
Well, I took the call because the email was so great and I clicked on the book a calendar.
Yeah.
But then like once the conversation switched to like, what can you do for me versus like the emails, like clearly was crafted in a way that like, all about me. You looked at you were scouring the universe of designers, and like I was the special one that you plucked out of the hat. But once that switched, like I disconnect personally.
Yeah. Well, looking at, we talk about AI all the time. Like, don't I think those emails, even the well-crafted ones, are like they are sent in bulk. They collect your info, scraped by scraping, and there's no human connection at all. And then that's fine if the person you're going to talk to is at least somewhat prepared and is not asking you the things already put in the email. Like then it would be fine, because then it doesn't really catch your attention. But now it does in a negative way, and it's also why we are designers. We are thinking about this sort of stuff. Like, imagine this being an onboarding. You are on the email is the landing page where you tell all these great things, and then you click sign up, you're onboarding, and then it's completely different. All you're talking about is, this tool is free, it's great, just use it for free, try for free, free. And then you click, you onboard, and just before the first aha moment comes, you're like, oh, well, now you have to pay. And then you're like, wait a minute, it's free. You told me it's free. Like, this is the same thing. Like, you're the expectations that they give you, that they create for you, they aren't met at all. Yeah, it really sucks, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're on a trashing recruiters bent, but I think
no, not at all, because I already trashed designers just before this, like they're complaining about not getting an answer and then not replying themselves. But because now we're talking about how recruiters should handle designers, but then designers should also handle recruiters, not only by checking if they're preferred supplier and if they actually viewed your profile. But I think as a designer, like I mentioned before, reply to a recruiter, even if it's no, thank you, I'm not interested, I already have a job, or I'm not looking to relocate or whatever. Just say no and a reason, positive change. But what also is helpful is if you have something like your LinkedIn open for work type thing, not talking about the banner, but you can put in settings like I'm available soon or right away. Like, if you have a job, turn that off, just to help a recruiter not send someone an email that isn't even available. But also on your website, do not have that green dot with the available for projects in Q1 when it's not the case.
Yes.
And being a nice person also goes both ways.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's your point. It's relationship building. So like, regardless of like, to your point, say no, thank you, and they appreciate it. Like, if you say no, I'm not available, because like 9 times out of 10, no one responds if they're not interested. But if you're the person saying, oh, no, thank you, but maybe next year we can reach out, you've started a bit of a conversation. And then at the end, when you're in a sticky situation looking for a job, you don't have to start from zero. You've already built up these relationships, regardless of you need them in the moment. You're talking, they're top of mind when new jobs are coming up. You can say no, but when you're ready and like in your dire need, it's really good to have that in your back pocket. These relationships that you've kind of fostered over time.
Yeah. So that, the interesting thing there is that you're helping them, but by doing so, you're also helping yourself.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I have the same thing. I have a bunch of recruiters that call me, every few months, because a few months ago I mentioned like, no, I have a project currently, but it's about to finish in March. And then around like March is coming up, they're calling me. They're like, hey, Nick, how's it going? You spoke to me or my colleague, 6 months ago. You mentioned your project will finish in the spring. How is it going? And then recently I could tell them like, oh, well, I have some availability, like part-time. And then they're like, well, that's tough. Like, most of my clients are looking for full-time people. And I'm like, I get it, but I have a few things I want to do first. And then a week later, he's calling me back. He's like, it's very rare, but I'm looking, I have a client who's looking for someone for 2 days a week. And I'm thinking of you, because, that relationship is very useful. Even if you have to say 3 or 4 times in a row, like, no, I'm fully booked currently. because that helps them as well. They just have their record in their system, like Nick, designer, Netherlands, booked until July. Okay, you're in the system at least. And it for sure beats having to send out 100 job applications while you're in need of work and getting ghosted all the time. So be open to recruiters, I think, is what I want to say.
Yeah, 100%. Because foster those relationships. Like to your point, and during that exchange that you just mentioned in that example, I imagine you were very pleasant to talk with. It's like, oh, not now, maybe later. It's probably like you probably were a bit more like, actually, I have a couple of projects. I would love to kind of jump on that, but I have a couple of things to tie up. Versus, no, not now. It's news. Talk to me later.
Oh yes. Yeah, when I talk to recruiters, it's always like a 15 or 20-minute phone call. When I'm home alone, like I am on most working from home days, like it's a moment for me to just put in my AirPods and go for a walk while talking to them. So then I'm the silly guy calling hands-free in a language different than the ones spoken by the people around them. I'm the crazy person speaking out loud while walking through a park. But I really want to take my time, because it's, you do good now, like you plant the seed and it's really going to help you later on. I also always save their name as a contact in my phone. And reply to their emails. Another thing that's also helpful for recruiters from a designer's perspective is to make sure you have like the little artifacts that I need to have it ready. So I have a subdomain, the CV dot, and then my website.
Okay.
And it's an HTML version of my resume, including when it's been last updated, ways to reach out, download as PDF, and available from, March or whatever. So they can just see, they can always go there and see if it's accurate, and they can call me or download. Like it's very easy. Like it's when they're asking me like, okay, Nick, this sounds interesting. Let's collaborate. Do you have your CV? And then I'm like, well, no, I don't have a CV. I don't have time for it, blah, blah, blah. That really sucks for them because they have to wait. They have to put other candidates on hold, because they're waiting on you. But if you can just say like, well, go to this link, it's ready for you. They're always super impressed and it makes their lives a lot easier.
Interesting. So if I'm curious, like if you have your CV kind of posted in that .cv thing, how often do you suggest people to update their CV then?
I would always update it once the I'm available starting at date passes, So I updated mine in September, and then I wrote down, I think if I remember correctly, I'm booked until the end of the year. So with Christmas and 2026 and all the changes, like, so it's that moment has gone. So this is a good reminder for me, practice what you preach, that after this recording, I will update the time because I have projects to do in Q1, So I'll probably update it to like part-time availability in Q2.
If only there was an AI agent to do that for you.
Well, there is. In a previous episode, we talked about Cloud Code and PHP and the whole setup. Like that subdomain has the same setup. So I can just go into Claude and say like, hey, update my availability. It's now Q2 part-time. And then it does. So, it's not a lot of work, but it's just one of those things that's always a second priority. It's not super important. It's always kind of important, but there's also something that's more important. So it never gets done. You really have to remind yourself to do it. Call it a document hygiene. It makes your life easier. Recruiters are your friend, even though, online communities and designer rants on social media make it look like it's not so. I really think it is.
Yeah, I think that they are our friends at the end of the day. Like I think those conversations or those posts or those rants come out of like situations where someone's really in desperate need. And they're frustrated. If I was a recruiter, I wouldn't take that personally. People they work in an industry, they work in a position where they're dealing with people's livelihoods and their careers, right? So it's a very, like, we spend majority of our day working, right? So that's a big part of our lives. And like, we love what we do, and we love to work for a company or establishment that we'd love to kind of show up for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a very solid point in a way that, the horror stories you read online are caused by horrible designers or horrible recruiters.
Mm.
I make it sound a bit stronger than it is, but there's a big silent majority of nice designers working with nice recruiters. I think all of this is mostly aimed at people feeling a bit insecure. Like, the recruiter is calling me. I read this terrible story online. Now I'm a bit scared. What should I do? Yeah. But you're right. There will always be bad apples on both sides, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there's a human. We're human versus human there. We're people. At the end of the day, like, we have things that happen in our lives. It could be having a bad day, having a good day. Just things happen. Just keep that in mind.
True.
Take those experiences with a grain of salt.
Yeah. But I think on top of that, like the few takeaways, we're aimed at designers mostly. So let's focus on those designer takeaways. Is that, having an easily accessible and shareable CV ready to go at any time is just a good practice, regardless of how you use it. It can be just a link on your job application or a link on your LinkedIn or that kind of stuff, and respond to messages in a kind way that's useful across the board. So yeah, I think it applies everywhere.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going to take that tip of constantly updating my resume, regardless if I need it or not. I think it's a good tip, whether you do it once a quarter or when you're going to be free if you're doing contract work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always the moment you need it is always a surprising moment. Like if you would lose your job tomorrow, like you wouldn't have seen it coming. And then I would rather spend my time reaching out to people compared to having to update and find my lost projects and all that kind of stuff. Senior designers don't have a portfolio because they're busy. Sounds more like an excuse than bragging. Like, see if you can find the 1 or 2 hours per month or per quarter even to just update a few things. I think it's annoying now, but it's very useful long term.
It's a quick fire way for a recruiter. It just happens to kind of reach out to you. It's like, I have it already.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Exactly.
Next stage.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Only 12 stages left.
Yeah. Let's not get into that one because that's another frustration of mine.
Yeah. Oh, I have tons of stories there, and I imagine you have too. So maybe that could be a fun off-topic episode at some point.
True. That's a good. Put that in the bank.
Yeah, let's make that a teaser for some time. Yeah. All right. I think that's all I had to say / rant about networking and recruiters and designers. Yeah. Unless you have something to say.
No. Great
Okay.
advice on behalf of Nick. I think some really solid points there. I think any designer should get out your writing pads, take note. I think some good strategies there.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get after 10 years in design and being part of all sorts of silly stories during those 10 years. You get very smart.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Till next time. That was a great episode. So if you like this content and want to hear more, please like and subscribe.
Yeah. And if you want to see more, please go to designtablepodcast.com, Spotify, Apple Music, all the big players and more.